Now with firewall technology.
Welcome back to Halftime Report on CNBC TV18. Now, there were a lot of business updates that came through, so especially in the FMCG space. So let's get Abneesh Roy, the Executive Director, Institutional Equities at Edelweiss, who tracks this entire space to tell us what this means for the businesses. Abneesh, good afternoon. I want to start with HUL because there's a big fall that we've seen in palm oil prices, and that, of course, will benefit most of these names. But on HUL particularly, what do you think the positives could be, and what does this mean for the stock?
Yeah, we are very positive on Hindustan Unilever. In fact, in our model portfolio, along with ITC, we have a 30% weightage for HUL. So we do see palm oil crash as a big positive for HUL in the second half of this financial year. There is always a 2-month, 3-month lag before current raw material prices start benefiting. HUL soaps portfolio will see good margin expansion in H2 and possibly last month of Q2 also. Also, how FMCG companies tackle deflation is they will increase the grammage also. If you see last 2 years, HUL's volume growth has been muted because they took 10 to 12% kind of a grammage cut in the lower unit pack. Now, as deflation is happening, the reverse will happen. So HUL will see benefit in terms of volumes also coming back and margin expanding in soaps. Crude oil prices have also corrected. Monsoon also now deficit is almost gone. So we are very positive on HUL and we have a positive reco on the company, and we expect stock to do well in spite of good performance in the last 1 month.
Okay. Abneesh, just taking that point forward, you said that palm oil prices will probably start reflecting in the next 2 to 3 odd months. Are you changing your EPS estimates for HUL, or are you waiting and watching to see how the situation would probably pan out? What are your EPS estimates currently, and what's the upside potential to it?
Sure. So we will look at more granular details of the palm oil and the quarterly numbers which will come out soon. But yes, there is a potential upside to our and street numbers if this kind of correction happens. If you see, crude is very volatile. It has fallen from $139 to now $105, but it's very volatile. So we need to see a bit more stability in the fall. Currently, we do expect HUL to see good growth this year. We are expecting definitely EPS growth of almost 10% in 23 and 16% in 24. So we do see some upside in the second half definitely for HUL, but we will see more stability in the fall because it's very volatile. And monsoon also will be a key monitorable. So it's looking good. Yes.
Okay. Wanted to ask you about both Marico and Dabur. Both came out with their updates. Marico, of course, was slightly cautious. Dabur said that the India business is fairly resilient. Between the two, what would you do with these names now?
Yes, we'll prefer Dabur because what's happening is fruit juice is doing really well for Dabur, and in Q1, all the categories of different companies which are impacted by a harsh summer, those will do really well. So something like ice creams will do for Unilever, similarly fruit juice for Varun Beverages and Dabur, etc. So we are definitely positive on Dabur because on such a high base of 30%, showing mid-single digit volume growth is a very good achievement. And in second half and Q2, the base of the high Chyawanprash and honey will not be there. So we do expect Dabur to continue to see resilience in volume growth. So we'll prefer Dabur. And on rural side also, Dabur has got a higher exposure of 40-45% to rural India for the India part of the state. So we are positive on Dabur also. But from a commodity deflation perspective, HUL, Britannia, Nestle will benefit more along with Godrej Consumer versus a Dabur. Yes.
Okay, so that's what I actually wanted to ask you about is Godrej Consumer, because they are also expecting to deliver early double-digit sales growth on a high base in India. Plus, they have an exposure to Indonesia. Where does that stand in your pecking order?
Godrej will see good benefit of margin expansion because of palm oil crash in second half. But in terms of pecking order, it will be lower for us because Indonesia continues to see a big dip this quarter in Q1. Our sense is Indonesia has bottomed out. In Q2, mostly it will be flattish kind of number, and H2 it should come back to growth. But what will happen in Godrej Consumer is the palm oil related benefit will go towards advertising increase. So on the EBITDA margin, the margin expansion will be muted versus a HUL or a Britannia or a Nestle. So that's why it will be lower in pecking order.
Okay. Since you spoke about Britannia, I wanted to understand what would the impact be, because gross profit margins for Q4 of Britannia have fallen compared to what we saw same time last year. Do you think there's a recovery underway, and what's your view on the stock now?
So Britannia in Q1, there is a high base for the last 2 years. So if company can show good sales growth, that will be completely pricing driven in my view in Q1. But last 2 quarters, Britannia has been over delivering versus expectation on volume growth because of market share gain. On the margin side, if you see, because of wheat exports ban, wheat prices have also cooled off. Now edible oil, palm oil has also cooling off, and crude is also cooling off, which will benefit in the packaging cost. So I do see Britannia as doing well in the second half. Definitely the margin should expand, and in Q2 also the company should deliver good volume growth because of the share gain. Q1 the base is high on both YOY and the 2-year basis.
So just quickly, Abneesh, if you had to bet on, say, 2 stocks coming out with the earnings in Q1 of FY23, based on the updates that you've seen, barring what's going to happen in the next 6 odd months, what do you think is which one do you think is probably going to deliver the most resilient performance, if not the best?
So in Q1, if you see, base effect is there. So last year base was favorable for companies in which there was an impact on mobility. So I think Asian Paint should deliver very strong set of numbers. Even in the staples, HUL should see a double-digit growth and volume growth also. So if I have to take 2 categories in paint, clearly Asian Paint, and in staples, HUL, from a Q1 perspective, these 2 companies stand out. Of course, someone like a United Spirits, because of very favorable base, will show very strong numbers, but we have to analyze on a 2-year, 3-year basis also.
Okay, thanks a lot for that, Abneesh. Have a great day. We'll slip into a quick break on that note.